And then, so now I'm here doing nothing.
I know. I was like trying to kill time. I can't start another project because I gotta be there by 6. I want to be here at 5:30 just in case Davis, so we can go over questions.
Right.
We'll see. How's your week been? It's been good?
Just starting, right? Yeah, how about you?
It feels like there is no beginning, there is no end. There's just nothing but
Exactly.
stuff to do. So did you just start working with the Chamber of Commerce?
I did. I technically started working in July.
Awesome. How you liking it so far?
Oh, I love it.
Cool.
It's one of my jobs, and like I'm just now realizing the weight of like the hours.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's alright. I tried working part-time 2 days a week. Could not do it.
Yeah.
Did not know.
I need a full-time job.
Yeah, oh, now I have 3 jobs.
Oh,
so.
jeez. Where else you working?
I work at the hospital.
Cool.
And I also have a photography business. So.
Cool.
I like to stay busy, that's for sure. Yeah. I don't know why I thought I'd be able to do, I don't know, 2 days a week.
Yeah, it's funny. I got 2 jobs too. I work at the radio station. Obviously, I work at the radio station. I also work at Kodiak and I'm also taking coursework. And it's just like trying to find time to get stuff done.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
Coursework, school,
Yeah.
for what?
I'm getting my associates in this thing called advanced firearms
Oh, okay. Nice.
technology. So kind of the idea is like maybe getting into gunsmithing once this is done, but we'll see what
That'd be
happens.
so cool.
I mean, I figured working with Pat Anderson over there at Kodiak Tactical would probably come up with something, but let's see.
Is that, or where's that offered? What school or association?
Going through the Sonoran Desert Institute, which is out of Arizona.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of interesting because they're having us write essays, and I haven't written an essay since like high school, so all this
Right.
stuff is just I'm such an old man when it comes to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I'm also a full-time student, so yeah.
Look at you.
Trying to do it all, I guess.
What are you trying to get your degree in?
Business analytics, actually.
Business analytics.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's starting from scratch, so it kind of sucks, but, I was going to graduate in Florida with my biomedical degree, and I was hoping, or wanting to go to PA school at the time. 3 years in, I realized I don't want to do this. So I took a couple of years off, and we moved around, we're Coast Guard.
Yep. Then when you say PA school, do you mean public affairs petty officer school, or do you mean physical physician assistant?
Physician assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I did 21 years in the Coast Guard, so like I get my acronyms.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because I've always been in medicine, so I'm like, yay,
Yeah.
physician assistant, yeah. But, yeah, now we're going for that business degree. Originally I wanted it to be statistics. University of Florida offers a great statistics program, but we're looking at the outcomes and the possibilities of a career, and well, I don't really want to work for NASA just because I was in Florida. I don't want to work like that. But I also don't want to be a data analyst or go the data analyst route because I'm not big on coding. So I think like just business analytics was a good medium.
That's good.
Yeah. I want to make sure. Have you guys decided how many questions we're doing?
I have no idea.
Gotcha. Okay. I want to make sure we have all the questions this time.
Yeah, that last time when we started asking the extra questions, we're like,
Yeah, they didn't falter, so I'm like good on them. But I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I don't know.
yeah,
If I was
'cause
in their
they
shoes.
have no idea what's going on.
Right.
We have an idea of what's going on. So when things don't go the way it's supposed to go.
Right. I was trying to catch Brian's eye. I was like, okay, no, it's alright. And I mean, they seem fine anyway, so. How long have you been at the radio station?
Going on 2.5 years.
Oh, nice. Do you like it?
Yeah. It's funny because I originally went to school for broadcasting before I joined the Coast Guard.
Oh, wow.
So,
Full circle.
yeah, I went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting and then went to college for a semester and a half. And then stuff happened and I was like, all right, I gotta get out of here. And I joined the Coast Guard. I was just do 4 years and then get out and go continue pursuing my communications career.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was a lot more fun being in the Coast Guard than I was doing anything else.
My husband loves it.
You get paid on the 1st of the 15th, you get 30 days paid leave, you got your healthcare taken care
Yeah.
of.
Oh,
You got
yeah.
you know what you're wearing to work every day. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you know, if there's gotta do something special, you usually have an idea of getting your fun stuff get together.
Right.
But, yeah, when it got to about 20 years, I was just like, I looked at where I could go and I didn't want to go to any of those places.
Look at, like, location-wise?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So a lot of my career I've based it on places where I want to live, not necessarily
Yeah.
units that are there.
Yeah. Yeah, my husband on the C-130 side, and we just don't like our other location choices for C-130s at least.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, let's just stay here for as long as they'll let us.
I'm sure they're probably quite accommodating for folks, 'cause, you know, Kodiak can be a tough place to fill.
I don't know, I still get surprised though. I've met families who wanted to extend, and they, for whatever reason, I didn't go further into it, they just didn't let them, or they just moved them somewhere else.
Mm.
Well, that's a shame. Because what, if you're gonna do, at least what I gather, is if you're going to be in for 20, at least in the aircraft side anyways, you're gonna be in Kodiak twice,
Mm-hmm.
is what it seems like. I'd rather just stay here as long as possible. I don't wanna move twice up here.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of air stations for C-130s, is there?
There are like 4 or 5, 6 max. We have Kodiak, Hawaii, California, and North Carolina. And there might be 2. I don't know why they would have 2 in California, so maybe just 4.
Yeah, I thought there was another one on the East Coast somewhere.
Well, we're from Bradenton, Florida.
Okay.
People laugh when we say it, but like, you know, like I said, we don't like our other options and we love it here. So let's stay here as long as possible until they get C-130s into Clearwater and just go back home,
Yeah.
if that'll ever happen.
You gotta try it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to stay in Seattle and Oregon as long as I possibly could, but
Mhm.
I advanced out of jobs. What's
Hey,
going on,
guys.
man?
How we doing, Neil?
Good, how are you?
Good. Good. You running the stuff for us
Just a
tonight?
PowerPoint.
Okay.
Jen's out there eating.
Okay, cool. Very good. Scripts.
Sweet. We should make sure that she has all of the questions, because we were missing some questions last week, the extra questions.
Oh, the extras, yeah, Brian told me. I didn't realize y'all were gonna go through all of them. I was like, oh, you're gonna run out of time.
No,
Nope.
we had plenty of time left.
Plenty
Yeah.
of time, yeah. Let's see here. Council and mayor.
Okay.
So that one's first. This one, this is for the mayor one at the end. Let's see here. Do you have the PowerPoint that, I sent to Ellen, I guess, or
Yes.
something?
Oh,
Okay.
yes, it's actually up there.
Oh, yeah,
Hello.
perfect. Hey, how's it going, Jen?
Good.
Good.
You got another coffee?
Yeah.
Dang, girl. I was thinking about it when I came back.
Yeah, late night.
Yeah.
Oh, we might be done earlier tonight, I think, actually, to be honest.
That sounds great.
But maybe just like half an hour early. Do you mind scrolling through on there while I just read these off real quick?
Absolutely.
Cool. So city council opening statements, then, first question is, what connection, skills, and experience would you bring to the city council?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Second question is, in part due to increased supply chain prices?
Yes.
Yep, okay. Third question is, what factors do you think are worsening the local housing crisis? Okay, great. Fourth is both state and federal capital improvement project funds. Yep, good. Next is the city owns several unutilized properties. Yep. What are your priorities for the city's budget? Yes. And then we get into extras. There should be two. Many borough residents that live outside of city limits. Yep, okay. And then last question is, as diversity, equity, and inclusion policies are challenged. Very good. Closing statements. Cool. All right, good. And then the mayor one. I think the mayor one may be actually the longer one. We'll see. Just because there's one more candidate tonight. First question for mayor, yeah, what qualifies you to be the mayor, city of Kodiak? Second one is, if elected, you would be the face and voice of the city of Kodiak. Yep, great. Next one is, one of the powers the mayor has is the ability to veto ordinances. Yep. After that, in part to increase supply chain prices. Yep. Good. And after that, finding affordable housing in Kodiak continues to be a challenge. Yes. Then we get an extras. What would your priorities be during your 2-year term? Yes. And then after that, as diversity, equity, and inclusion policies challenge. Yep. And that's it.
Perfect.
Great.
I'm Alexa, by the way.
Davis, nice to meet you.
Nice to finally put a face to the name.
You too. And then Jen, do you have a statement that Jay Shelley was supposed to say?
Yes.
Sweet.
I just saw it, I was like, what? Am I reading something?
Yeah, I'm assuming he just sent that to her because I didn't get the email. Which is fine, he did, but thank you. Yeah, so you know you're gonna read that one. So basically, this is like everything in one, right? So, oh yeah. So Alexis, at the beginning, the first opening statement we're gonna read is Jay Shelley's, because he's not gonna be here tonight.
It's Shelly.
Yeah, Chelly, yeah, like cello, Chelly. So that is gonna be longer than a minute, but we'll just read the whole thing in its entirety,
Okay, so,
because that's all he's got.
so we won't start any time, so we just not start any timers until the first question, or?
No,
Or
we will
the
still,
first opening statement in person?
yeah, so after the first opening statement, then you can start the 1-minute timer, just because, yeah, the first candidate won't be here, and all he has is the statement and the sentence, and that counts for his entire time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have back that. Do the queen thing. Rotate it.
Homecoming queen.
Did you have any questions?
How do you try to pronounce your first name?
Hey, this is my wife, Ken. I almost wore my.
I'll bring back home.
Lucky for me. Boy, they keep it running here.
It is one, I think. Do you guys like some air?
Please, thank you, Amy.
No, thank you, I like it warm. Might be only what
I took
it
a
is.
shower today, it's my only shower for a week.
I'm not-
in the back.
Oh, cool.
You were also a refrigerator back there.
So,
Thanks, Steve.
if I sit in front of him, you'll never see.
Do you need to go back?
have to turn on the microphones until, just, until they start, because we don't want the side conversation being broadcast out.
Do you want water?
Yes, please.
Oh, look at her.
Thank you.
Every once in a while, your board membership is
So just like last time, we'll start exactly at 6.
Hi.
Just keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
13 minutes. Be here, be square.
No.
Sure, yeah. I know they'll be asking me questions. I know we have.
It was
No, you can, it's on YouTube, right?
On
YouTube?
Yeah, that's how I watched it last week.
They treat us really well. And it's just me and one other guy.
This one came at Steve too, right? Davis?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, and.
But on camera, it's just audio, right?
I know it's been really confusing. and
I've seen
so-
your name many times, but I don't know if we've met. Thanks.
I don't know who it is, I think from Steve Williams, that inside the recreation center, it says Borough Recreation Center. I don't know, I haven't been inside for a while, but, yeah, I haven't noticed that either. So my interpretation is that means the recreation center needs to be shorter, yeah. Anyway, it's been very bad.
The sign will go somewhere in the
Yeah,
vicinity.
yeah, right where Brown Park is, that, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Jenna, you are the first one here for the council, so you're welcome to take the seat.
Okay.
Or you can wait until more show up.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm just gonna send the link to my uncle, he wanted to try to watch the video stream.
It goes to
I wanna have,
I think I recognize all of these words.
I'm good.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah,
It's still out.
and my silver sneakers class is canceled tomorrow, but I have another class. Silver sneakers.
I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, it's really good class. I went to the yoga class today, by Zoom at the senior center, and a lot of the silver sneakers.
Same thing. Oh, I really like
Yeah,
it.
when I got the job.
Yeah, she's very good. And she teaches that class.
Yeah, one of the things I really appreciate is that they really don't make
Yeah.
you know, some of the instructors
That was it.
are like,
Do whatever you want.
which is fine, except for, I know that we all need to stretch more than we think after we exercise.
That's why I went to that yoga class today. I've brought it before, but I didn't see the most senior start date. No, and Veronica teaches us very good. Anyway,
Veronica,
yeah. Right.
Your body is over at
Thanks for me.
and then I went in.
Thank you. Well, you guys got those.
Good, how are you?
No, Jason.
just be careful with the microphones, just so we're not broadcasting side conversations before you start. So,
As long as it's not green, it's not okay.
yes, you should be okay. Yeah, you would be. And even then, the ones who haven't seen it, tell them not to turn on
I walked up here, so.
Okay, good.
This is everybody who was part of the, do you know Sandra?
Ready? Go down the line. Hello, sir. I brought water. Okay. Well, Nova's in charge of the water.
Thank you.
What? I want to be able to see the clock.
Yeah, not as nice as you have 10 more seconds to wrap it up.
That's right.
That's what I like about that.
For the candidates.
What time is it?
Oh, please. Oh, do you want to close? Okay. So we just want to make sure that no one's back here. I'll close it.
Okay.
How was the wedding reception?
It was great.
Yeah?
Yeah,
That you can
Uh,
go back in
yeah, a lot of fun.
Good.
and around.
So we can't,
Like, yeah.
okay.
It's just so, it's just such a, I guess, there's no other word for it than a trip just to see the kids growing up so
Yeah.
fast. You're like,
It's like, how old is Olivia?
20, they're all 20, 21.
I'm supposed to be reading
Yeah.
questions.
Was that your daughter?
She wasn't marrying, she was just in the wedding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Saw the photo, hi Michael. I'm friends with Valerie, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that was her wedding gift to Olivia, my daughter,
Okay. That's-
which I thought was super thoughtful. I'm like, that's a great idea.
Did she come up with that on her own?
I don't know, it's probably not.
Well, I saw Valerie post the picture and it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I thought it'd be a good, like, April Fool's joke. Like, hire her to do it while someone's, like, sleeping, and then you wake up and someone's, like, painting you. Or something like that.
Like it.
Very, very talented.
5 minutes, just so you know, bathroom breaks, water breaks, whatever you need.
Oh, I might run the rest.
Yeah.
Is it just us three?
Yeah, Jay is not here tonight.
Oh, Jay's not coming. Okay. Oh.
Spaced out there for a moment. It was time for me to ask it. Really, I did not already ask this question.
I'll try to cross them out.
I would have crossed them
Yeah,
off
there you
too.
go.
Okay.
Give you ideas too where you wanna order from. Actually,
I just recognized you after you had already gone past me. I was like, oh.
We're great.
It was nice and
Yeah, I really like that.
I mean, it's nice that people mark at us all.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's just nice that we're all maybe be sitting at the same place and talking, you know?
Yeah.
One of the, somebody in a. Why do KMXT, KVOK, and the chamber get to ask questions? When do we get to ask? Well, we have meet and greets.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the nonprofit network had wanted to try to put on something that, I guess, kind of had questions more focused around nonprofits, but a few things fell out of place and it just didn't come together in time.
I think some of them want us to like debate a little bit, but I think that's counterintuitive to what we're trying to do personally.
I feel the same
So
way.
it's like, I don't really want to debate anybody on this. I would like to figure out ways to work together, and so yeah.
Collaboration is the key.
I think all of us are very similarly focused on what we want to get done and be a part of. So I'm happy whatever the outcome is.
Yeah. I feel like any of us would do a good job for Kodiak.
All right, just so everybody's aware, one more minute, and then we'll be starting the candidate forum with city council candidates. One more minute.
Is there anything we need to know about the mics?
Well, yeah, we'll go through that in the introduction, but yeah, basically you just have to push the button before you speak, and then make sure you turn it off when you're done.
limited heckling while the others are.
Yeah, no.
I know, sometimes I have to control myself because when people say things I like, I always want to be like, yeah.
You got the shepherd's crook around the corner.
There you go. I like it.
Jay? No Jay?
He's not working. He has a written statement he'll read.
Good evening and welcome KMXT listeners and audience members to the candidate forum for the city of Kodiak. My name is Neil Basewiz. I'm with KVOK.
And I'm Davis Hovey. I'm the news director at KMXT Radio.
As we begin tonight's candidate forum, we would like to acknowledge that this event is being put together by KMXT, KVOK, and the Kodiak Chamber of Commerce.
Tonight's questions have been crafted by KMXT's news team in collaboration with the Kodiak Chamber of Commerce and KVOK. For transparency, some of the candidates running for election this year are KMXT Public Radio staff. However, to maintain the fairness, impartiality, and integrity of this annual forum, none of the questions have been shared with any of the candidates ahead of this forum, and that has been our standard for previous forums as well.
Each candidate will have up to 1 minute for opening statements to introduce themselves. Once we begin questions, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer, and we will rotate who answers a question first. The forum will end with each candidate's 1 minute closing statements.
So candidates will be using this timer that's up on the wall above you to keep track of your answers. The time begins when you start speaking. If the timer goes off during your statement or answer, please wrap up your comments immediately. Thank you. So we're going to start with 1 minute opening statements. As you may notice, one of the candidates is not present tonight. Jay Chelly couldn't make it. He is traveling for work, so he has sent us a prepared statement, which we will read on his behalf. Go ahead, Neil.
Here's the statement for Jay Chelly. I wish I was here in person. Unfortunately, work has pulled me away. I wish all the candidates the best of luck, and I very much look forward to Election Day. Thank you to everyone for putting your names in the hat and giving Kodiak real choices at the polls this year. I believe I can make a real difference for the people of Kodiak. I've attended numerous council meetings, and I know that voters deserve clarity on how their tax dollars are being spent. The council's role is oversight, not daily administration. and that oversight has too often been missing in recent projects. I respect anyone who steps forward to serve, and my friends Juna, Nick, and Sandra have the best intentions. But it's time for meaningful change. Kodiak needs leadership that is accountable, approachable, and willing to engage directly with our citizens. That's why I will bring back town hall meetings in a relaxed potluck setting, giving residents an open, untimed, and welcoming space to talk about issues that matter most. As your council member, I'll bring fresh eyes and practical solutions to our community's toughest challenges. Kodiak needs a dedicated maintenance department to take care of our city's infrastructure and equipment before problems grow more costly. We also need to be more proactive in pursuing and enforcing city contracts, ensuring that every project is completed on time, on budget, and to the standards of Kodiak deserves. Tourism is a vital part of Kodiak's economy, and we can do more to support it. I propose designating spots on the city dock for local businesses to bid on during tourism season, helping maximize business and tourist connections and keeping more visitor dollars circulating in our community. Housing remains one of Kodiak's greatest needs. I will work to expand low-cost workforce housing through annexation and smarter land management, ensuring that families and businesses alike can thrive here. In addition, I support term limits for both city and borough political seats, because fresh leadership and accountability are essential for healthy government. My service on the school board, strategic planning board, along with my volunteer work with Kodiak students through Highmark Marine Fabrication has given me deep insight into how collaboration between schools, nonprofits, and businesses strengthen our community. I will continue building these partnerships to expand services and opportunities for residents. Kodiak's economy depends on its people and its industries. Our seafood industry, fishermen, processors, and support businesses remain the backbone of our island, and the city must keep investigating in the infrastructure that sustains our fleet. Tourism brings new dollars to Kodiak, and smart public-private partnerships like those already underway in marine fabrication can create even more local jobs. Long-range planning can position Kodiak as a true gateway to the Arctic, with expanded shoreside services and even a floating dry dock to support military and commercial vessels as Arctic routes continue to grow. If elected, I will dedicate the time and energy this role demands. I'll attend every meeting, learn the council process in depth, and always listen to the people of Kodiak. I'll be engaged, approachable, responsive, fiscally responsible, and transparent. In every decision, together we can preserve what makes our island unique while building the future Kodiak deserves.
All right, so again, that was Jay Chelly's statement, and he will not be joining us for the rest of tonight. So now we go to the rest of our candidates who are here. Juna, you have 1 minute for your opening statement, please.
Hi, I'm Juna Davidson, and as you know, I'm running for city council. I am a Kodiak kid, born and raised. I moved away from Kodiak to build my skills through higher education and lived in Olympia, Washington for 20 years. I always had the goal of returning to Kodiak and serving the community where I was raised. I love Kodiak, and I believe that it has everything that a community needs for people to be happy, healthy, and thriving. As everyone of my fellow candidates has already acknowledged in previous discussions, there are challenges to our infrastructure and building stability. There are challenges for housing security. There are challenges for our education and meeting the needs of our students and our teachers. I believe that I am the person who can serve Kodiak with compassion, with dedication, and with the willingness to have difficult discussions. Thank you.
Nick Mangini.
Hello, my name is Nick Mangini. I am running for city council along with the other two candidates here and Jay Chelly. Thank all of you for putting your hat in the ring. I think very much we're all in the same boat and just wanting to give more options on the ballot. I don't necessarily have a specific platform or, drive other than I want to be very, a part of whatever is going to happen in the future for Kodiak. I'd like to be a approachable and worthwhile member of our council. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Sandra West, your 1 minute opening statement, please.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Sandra West.
Please make sure you turn on your mic. Sorry. There you go.
Thank you. This is always the hardest part, right? It's like, who in the world are you? My name is Sandra West. I got that part down. I came to Kodiak in 1977, active duty Coast Guard. Got promoted to full-time mom, raised 3 kids here. I started attending more borough and city meetings because I had an agenda. I wanted to make Kodiak more walkable, bikeable. And then just attending meetings, I found it all very fascinating, and I was drawn into the bigger picture of our harbor and our housing and our people and all that's been going on. And it's been fascinating for me to come in not knowing. So I've been asking lots of questions and meeting a lot of people. Yeah, so I'm excited about taking another step forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the question portion of the forum, just like to remind everybody that we are on live radio, and watch your words. We will have questions on the TV screen in front of you, but for listeners, we will repeat the question before each candidate answers. Beginning with Juna. What connections, skill, and experience would you bring to the city council that would otherwise not be represented by current members or your fellow candidates?
Well, I have a career in education and social services and working in nonprofits. I currently work at the Alutiiq Museum and have for almost the entire 7 years since I've moved home. So I have a pretty intricate understanding of the tourism industry and how that is affecting Kodiak, which I think we all know is part of how our economy is going to continue to develop as other industries like fishing are changing. So I have connections and knowledge of tourism and what can be done to shepherd that industry to benefit the economy of Kodiak. I am the secretary for the Kodiak Arts Council, so I have an understanding of the arts in Kodiak, and we all know that arts are a big part of quality of life. One of the things I want for Kodiak is for every person in our community to feel that they are able to access not just the resources they need for their basic needs, but also the enrichment that they need for a thriving life. And I think I have a good understanding of how to help people feel heard and how to help people find their voice to share what is important to them. I have a lot of training in conflict resolution and mediation through my career in Washington. I have a certificate in mediation from the Dispute Resolution Center in Olympia. And I think that in government, you always are having difficult conversations, and having someone with experience shepherding difficult conversations is something that can be helpful. I also am just by nature a very collaborative person and grew up in a family of civic engagement.
Thank you. Nick Mangini, same question. What connections, skills, and experience would you bring to the city council that would otherwise not be represented by current members or your fellow candidates?
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to not be represented by current fellow candidates because we all have a lot of things in common. So rather than talk against any of their skills, I'd rather just talk about mine. I think number one, just my connection to the fishing industry, over 20 years of being a fisherman, is very important. I know all of the people that walk the docks daily. See them, can't get out of Safeway within an hour like most of us because you're spending half your time visiting, and I think that's very important. As far as experience, the last 5 years I've spent doing economic development through my connections to mariculture and the mariculture industry here. So I've got to really see a lot of the new, nuances of trying to start a nascent industry in Kodiak, and it's very tough. And I think we're in a position where we need to diversify both our economy and our skilled work set and what the workforce is doing, and start thinking about the future rather than trying to make Kodiak what it's always been in the past. So I think that's a lot of what I bring to the table. Otherwise, I can't say that I would be here to represent something that's not available in your other candidates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick. Sandra, same question. What connections, skills, and experience would you bring to the city council that would otherwise not be represented by current members or your fellow candidates?
Yeah, ditto with, we've all been here a bit, so we have similar connections, definitely, and probably similar experience. I think some of the good connections that I'm bringing is not only my relationship with the Coast Guard, having worked out there in various capacities as active duty civilian contractor, but also I've been reaching out to the city department heads and visiting with them, talking about their budgets and what are their needs. And so that's been helpful in making connections, and been part of the KEDC Walkability Group as well as the Housing Action Group. And those people are working towards getting solutions. So that's been really fun. I think one of the things that it's important to bring is the ability to say, oh, whoops, that was a mistake. So one of the things I think I can say, yeah, we made a mistake. And I think it's important to look at where mistakes have been made and be able to fess up if you mess up. That's it.
Thank you. We'll start this next question with Nick Mangini. In part due to increased supply chain prices, like for groceries and housing, the cost of living is rising in Kodiak, making it harder for people and businesses to afford to stay here. If elected, what would you do to support both established and incoming residents as well as businesses?
Wow, that's a tough one. I guess I'll just start with saying I don't have the silver bullet for all of these, all of these questions. I'd just like to be a part of the group that's helping to decide the best path forward, even if it's not maybe the perfect path forward. I have a number of ideas of, making businesses afford to stay here. I mean, that all just comes with, being supportive of commerce. I think your city council needs to be supportive of every business and every consumer in Kodiak, giving everybody better access to different goods, working on supply chain issues like the cost of groceries and housing and the cost of living are all things that are on our everyday plate as a city council. So I think that's things that we've been trying to answer for years. So I don't have like a necessary, here's the answer. I think just being very supportive of the process and the projects that would come with bringing down the cost of shipping, finding new ways to bring things in at a cheaper level, maybe collaborative ways to ship in goods. These are all things that I look forward to learning about. So I guess that would be my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra, in part due to increased supply chain prices like for groceries and housing, the cost of living is rising in Kodiak, making it harder for people and businesses to afford to stay here. If elected, what would you do to support both established and incoming residents as well as businesses?
Yeah, I think that's very kind of you to think we can make that big change. Awesome. But we also have ideas, right? When you're struggling, you come up with something. I would like to see, I know it's a balance, but I would like to see us lower the cost of food because everybody has to eat. And it hits the poorest of the poor. So we are taxing food. If we could tax food less, that'd be great. We'd have to raise the taxes somewhere else. But I think to care for the necessities, what people really need first would be a start. Thanks.
Thank you. Juna, same question. In part due to increased supply chain prices, like for groceries and housing, the cost of living is rising in Kodiak, making it harder for people and businesses to afford to stay here. If elected, what would you do to support both established and incoming residents as well as businesses?
Well, as both of my colleagues acknowledge, this is a big question, and there is no one answer to address it. I agree with Sandra that the cost of food and basic needs is something that needs to be addressed. I am optimistic that maybe the city can work in collaboration with our grocery store and see if there's ways that we can address. My understanding is that a lot of the cost of goods in Kodiak is tied to the cost of shipping to Kodiak. And I'd like to look at what options there are to try to reduce the cost of getting goods to Kodiak. One of the things that happens is the cost of goods goes up and they just never seem to go back down. I think as far as supporting established and incoming residents and businesses, part of that is the community piece and bringing people in and making people feel like they are a welcome part of the community, that they have a place here when they're new to Kodiak. As far as businesses, I think that the city does a great job at creating opportunities for people to come and learn about the city processes, but I would like to see more support for people in learning, like workshops or classes or opportunities to help people who want to start businesses understand more about what it takes and what are the permits and the different things that you need to do to get your licensing. I know that the Chamber of Commerce has been doing some great work bringing in some like business training courses. I know that the college does great work with offering educational opportunities, but I'd like to see the city participate more. Not to say that the city is not doing anything, but I just think we could do more. I think that the more access people have to information, the better it is for us all.
Thank you very much, Juna. And now we go to Sandra. What factors do you think are worsening the local housing crisis, and what actions should the city take to address those lack of affordable homes?
Good question. What's worsening the housing crisis? That's a tough one in that it's always been short of housing. Some of the work I did at the Coast Guard base was to do a housing survey in town for what rentals were available. That was pretty easy. It was a short list. Yeah, I can only guess that, so I won't. But I do know that through the KEDC, there is a housing action group. And the part that I'm hopeful about that group is that it's connected nationwide to people who are working on this problem nationwide. So it's not just Kodiak, but we are between a rock and the ocean here, which also adds to it. I think the best steps for the city going forward with this and addressing it is to continue to address it. To continue, I know it's been in all the discussions, whenever there's action going to be taken, how will this affect housing? So that's good that we are talking about it and keeping it in the forefront. But yeah, no silver bullet. But I think that the city needs to keep talking about it and talking to people nationwide. Thank you.
Thank you. Juna, same question to you. What factors do you think are worsening the local housing crisis, and what actions should the city take to address the lack of affordable homes?
Man, like Sandra said, that is such a big question. One of the things, obviously, is whether or not there is enough housing for the people that want to live here. And the housing that's available, not just is it a house that's available, but is a house that meets the need of the individual or the family? Is it in good shape? I mean, Kodiak has a lot of buildings that are quite old, and one of the other factors that impacts people's ability to pay for their housing is any kind of maintenance costs that are also incurred through that. Housing, there's not enough housing in in Kodiak for all the people that we would like to have living and working in Kodiak. We know this because our schools and our hospital are struggling to find housing for their employees that they're trying to hire, which is preventing us from having a full staff at our hospital, is requiring us to find other ways to meet those needs. And we need hospital workers, we need teachers, we also need nonprofit workers, we need everyone in the community. I think that it's a multifaceted discussion on how to address that. I think I would love to see the city and borough work together on some of the property that is already in the borough's control to maybe create some new multi-home, I guess it's not multi-home, what do you call an apartment building? Multi-density? Multi-family, thank you. To create some more dense housing for Kodiak, and also trying to, it's a little bit out there, but I would love to see us look at tiny houses as part of the solution. I have seen other communities be very successful as using small housing, tiny houses as sort of transitionary housing. I'm talking too much. Thank you.
Thank you, Juna. Nick, same question. What factors do you think are worsening the local housing crisis, and what actions should the city take to address the lack of affordable homes?
This is a tough one for a number of reasons, because you have to really understand all of the factors of why they can't afford this housing. So I think it just goes to the very root of why we're all here. Is just making, the proper changes to make Kodiak a more affordable place to live also means providing, jobs that make the workforce enough money to be able to afford this said affordable housing. I don't know that this is just a city problem. It's definitely about making the city and the borough work, in lockstep to make this a possibility for all of the residents of Kodiak. I wish that I knew what was the worsening cause, because I would go to work right now on how to change those things. But to me, for example, as I lost opportunity in fishing and the fishing opportunities around Kodiak, I looked to diversify my own business by turning to mariculture. So I think it's just maybe the education of our general public and helping them to diversify their own, work if they so choose, so that we can create more opportunity for all of our residents. For me, that's having more than one job, and I know that's not what everybody wants to do, but making sure that people know those options are out there so that they can afford to live in a place that they love and call home is probably the most important. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start this next question with Juna. Both state and federal capital improvement project funds have become more competitive in the last year, but the city still needs more money for projects such as replacing St. Herman Harbor. How can the city improve its efforts to find funds for these types of projects, and what projects would you prioritize if elected to the council?
Another light question. Yeah, funding is always going to be competitive. I think that one of the biggest priorities for Kodiak is obviously the harbor, but also I'm interested in sort of overall infrastructure as well. Our city water and sewer lines are pretty aging, and so I want us to get ahead of infrastructure challenges. It's expensive to repair things, but it's more expensive to replace them. How can we improve our efforts to find funds for these type of projects? Obviously, looking at any kind of federal funding is always an initial place to start, but we all know that federal funding streams are changing and getting more competitive. I do have a lot of experience through my career working with grant funding and federal funding, and I know that it is very competitive, but I think Kodiak has compelling arguments for the value of getting state and federal investment in our community. We are an important point of contact for Alaska with both the fishing industry, but now with this whole gateway to the Arctic thing, there's other industries that are attracted to Kodiak for our convenient location. I think that the harbor has to be the first priority. I think we can look at state funding as well. I also wonder about looking at private and foundation funding. Recently at the museum, and I know that nonprofit funding is very different than municipal funding, but there's a lot of foundations in the lower 48 that are interested in Alaska. Maybe we can make them interested in us.
Thank you very much. Nick, same question. Both state and federal capital improvement project funds have become more competitive in the last year, but the city still needs more money for projects like replacing St. Herman Harbor. How can the city improve its efforts to find funds for these types of projects, and what projects would you prioritize if elected to council?
I mean, I think that we're all going to say the harbor is the most important, just because it's glaringly obvious if you use it every day. And it's not through, lack of planning in the past, but just more lack of funding. So I think just putting that in the face of both our federal and our state legislators, as well, just keeping it in the forefront of their minds so that every time they see you, they're like, oh, here comes the harbor guy, and just getting out there and doing those kinds of things. It's hard to make money be created from thin air. So I think you hit on the nail on the head with the gateway to the Arctic. I think that that's going to put a lot bigger of a strain on our local, especially skilled services coming in the future. Like we just saw this lack of electricians around town because of everybody was out working on this base housing. And if you were somebody that was in need of an electrician during that last 2-year period, it was frustrating. So I think bringing that to both the legislators' attention and just showing, hey, the city of Kodiak and its residents are kind of suffering from this build-in infrastructure, and all of this funding can't just go out to the base. It also needs to go to where all of the communities or all of the residents of the base will rely on some town services as well, and just trying to make sure that we get some funding to help build up this infrastructure as well. I think our waterfront infrastructure is in some need of repair too. Just being a fisherman and kelp farmer around Kodiak, you deliver to these docks every day, and you can tell some of them haven't had a thing done to them since '64. So I think it's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra West. Both state and federal capital improvement project funds have become more competitive in the last year, but the city still needs more money for projects like replacing St. Herman Harbor. How can the city improve its efforts to find funds for these types of projects, and what projects would you prioritize if elected to the council?
Thank you. Yeah, the city has done really well in receiving state and federal funds, as we see at the firehouse and the other projects that have been doing. And my understanding, it's ask, show up, exactly what Nick said. When they see you coming down the hall, they know what project you're looking for. They will know. They've known about the fire station. Now we're going to swap that, and we're going to be the people that need harbor repair to support fisheries that's feeding everybody. So I think that that's a continued effort. I think that it's been a good effort. Let's see if we can improve it. That'd be a challenge. And I do, for projects that I would prioritize would be, the harbor would be first. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, going back over to you, Nick. The city owns several unutilized properties. What ideas do you have to better use undeveloped or unoccupied facilities in areas within Kodiak city limits? How should the city approach planning and zoning ideas?
I guess I would need to know more about these underutilized properties, and the only way to really do that is to get involved with something like city council Unless that was your passion as just a general resident of Kodiak, which it's just not for a lot of us. For me, I've been working on trying to find something to put at Gibson Cove for about 4 years. Now, finding the public-private partnership that wants to take over that property has been an uphill battle, like a pillar battle. So, just everything's changing so fast within so many industries, and you know, whether those industries have the funding to invest in a property like that, and that's the only thing that I can use as my example because it's the only thing that I'm really familiar with. As far as the planning and zoning ideas, I have been a part of the Borough Planning and Zoning Committee for the last 6 months. That doesn't mean that I have really even started to wrap my head around what's happening with planning and zoning and the policy that surrounds it. But what I do see is that it's just an arduous, slow process. There's nothing that you're gonna make change in a month or 5 for that matter. So if we're seeing things that are hanging up the growth of industry or commerce within Kodiak, then we need to get those on the, you know, to the boards as soon as possible, because it's not something we're going to be able to change right away. So I think it's just more prioritizing what we want to change and why we want to change it, and make sure that the community's behind that change and then acting on that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Sandra West, same question to you. The city owns several unutilized properties. What ideas do you have to better use undeveloped or unoccupied facilities and areas within Kodiak city limits? And how should the city approach planning and zoning ideas?
Thank you. I think I'm going to go with the planning and zoning ideas and just echo a little bit of what Nick was saying. I've just seen Chris French from the community development at the Borough bring forth code after code after code, cleaning up our code. And I commend him for doing that. And I think it's an opportunity for us citizens to listen to what the code changes are. They're not big changes. Most of it's cleaning up, but that's a time for us to say, okay, and how can we make this more what we want in Kodiak? So those are my approaches for planning and zoning. Oh yeah, I got some ideas from undeveloped and unoccupied facilities for sure. I'll just mention one. We have worked to have ownership of the Griffin Building down on the water. There's been ideas. I would love to see that building being used. Do I know all the ideas? No, I know a handful. City offices. I think that's a great idea. City conference room where we could have city meetings, design it for that. Maybe even add a third floor to it because it's not quite big enough. Anyway, that's a big project. That's a big change, but it's costing us now and it's empty. So let's go forth and do something.
Thank you. Juna, the city owns several unutilized properties. What ideas do you have to better use undeveloped or unoccupied facilities and areas within Kodiak city limits? How should the city approach planning and zoning ideas?
So I'll start by saying planning and zoning is an area where I have research to do. It is not something I am as familiar with as other things. But I do love to learn, and I know that there are a lot of people in this community who are great resources to help me learn more about that, so that I could serve Kodiak well in that realm. As far as undeveloped and unoccupied facilities, I think that part of what needs to be done is sort of assessing, what is the list of the unused areas and what are the priorities for what the community needs. We know that we need housing. Are any of those lots suitable for housing? Is there something that can be done there? If they're not suitable for housing, can they be used for other community needs? I would love to see more community gathering spaces, but I think that is something I would like to see and maybe not the first priority. We need to address housing first. So I feel like that would be one of the first things I would look at for those spaces. I'm not sure how to best use the land. I would like to hear from the community what you guys want more of in Kodiak. We know that people want more housing. We know that people want more stability in our economy. But how do we use the land that we already have to meet the needs of the community? I realize that's the question that you're asking me, and I don't know what the answer is yet.
Thank you. For this next question, we'll start back with Sandra West. What are your priorities for the city's budget? What programs or departments do you think are over or underfunded?
Nobody's overfunded. I think everybody's doing a pretty good job of tightening their budgets and looking at it. I've talked to, like I said, some of the departments, talked to the chief of police and the harbor master about how their budgets are going. Priorities for the city budget. Balancing the budget is a real good idea. You have to do that in two ways. You know, you got all these expenditures, and then where's your money coming in? And we get our money from taxes. The costs are always going up. We don't want taxes to go up. There are a few other resources. There's been investments recently. Yeah, I think that, like I talked about the Griffin building, and in our budget, we are paying rent now here to have our offices here at the Borough. So that might be a good budget helping balance thing to invest in the Griffin building and move there. Is it my number one? I don't think so. I think the harbor and our good health of our community, mental health, physical health, and housing are my priorities. Thank you.
Thank you. Juna, what are your priorities for the city's budget? What programs or departments do you think are over or underfunded?
Definitely trying to balance the budget would be a priority. That's the eternal struggle in any financial organization, institution, or even for us as individuals. A priority is the infrastructure, what we need in the harbor, but also opportunities for people in our community. Training, connection opportunities, ways to get people invested and involved in what is happening in Kodiak. I think that the city is well poised to invest in providing ways for people to be more engaged in the community. There's a lot of discontent in Kodiak from people who feel like they're not being heard and feel like the city's wasting money, or they don't understand how the money is being spent. And I think that maybe if the city could create more opportunities for people to understand how the budget is working, how the city is trying to prioritize what are the basic needs of the community. I don't think anything is overfunded. I know that our police department is understaffed. I know that our fire department is understaffed. But I think we're currently doing our best, and we just need to keep working towards meeting those needs for infrastructure, for housing, and for quality of life.
Thank you. Nick Mangini, what are your priorities for the city's budget? What programs or departments do you think are over or underfunded?
Oh, yeah, I'm very much on board with that. There's probably nothing overfunded. And balancing the city's budget kind of goes hand in hand with what my priority would be, looking at, capital improvement projects and the things that are going to bring more money into the city than lessening our dependency on, taxes for individuals. I think really taking a good look at tourism and how we can both promote that for Kodiak, but more promote the opportunities or the things that the tourists get to do in Kodiak. Having come from Southeast Alaska that's very dependent on tourism, in no way, shape, or form do I want us to become a Sitka or Juneau. I think that that's an overcapitalization on on the opportunity. But I do think that Kodiak's in a unique position right now to make tourism work around us so that we're not losing our every day way of life. I think really looking at that and the amount of money that a head tax could bring into Kodiak, as well as just creating new opportunities for the tourist and the tourism in Kodiak, could really open the door to a lot of money that we don't realize right now. Thank you.
Back to you, Juna. Many borough residents that live outside of city limits have expressed frustration that they have no vote in what the city does, despite owning businesses and paying taxes in the city. Should the council reconsider who is eligible to vote in city elections? Why or why not?
Yes, I think we should reconsider who is eligible to vote in city elections. I knew that the boundaries of the city were small. I did not realize until I was running for city council how many people I know who thought they lived in the city and don't because the boundaries don't. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like my coworker and I live less than a quarter of a mile away from each other, and we are on this side of Safeway, but I'm city and she's not. I think that so many people are disenfranchised with the electoral process in Kodiak, and I think part of that is because a lot of people who feel that they put money into the city, they pay taxes into the city, they live in the city, they work in the, or sorry, they don't live in the city. They just barely don't live in the city, but they work in the city, and they feel like they don't have a say in the elections. I know there's a lot of talk about annexation, particularly focused around Service District 1. I think that's worth exploring. I know there's a lot of expense to expanding city boundaries, but I think it's important for the community to feel that their voice counts, and for the large amount of people who are a part of the daily workings of Kodiak, but live just on the other side of city limits, I think that we could get more community engagement and more income too, I guess, from more people. Yeah, I think it's a discussion that needs to continue to be had, and I am in favor of pursuing that discussion.
Thank you. Nick Mangini, back to you. Many borough residents that live outside of city limits have expressed frustration that they have no vote in what the city does, despite owning businesses and paying taxes in the city. Should the council reconsider who is eligible to vote in city elections? Why or why not?
First of all, I'd need to understand if that's really a council decision or not. I mean, I think that there's probably a lot of code and policy around how all of this works that I have no knowledge of. So, start with that. Beyond that, Service District 1 in particular is very tough. It's where a lot of my support would be for sure for this election. A lot of my friends live there. I'm right on the edge of it. But also just looking at the annexation and really looking into what the cost of that would be and making that service district understand that cost would probably be where to start with all of that. And I don't know all of those things. I would love to learn about it. It's definitely been a very growing part of our population, maybe more than it was intended to be when it wasn't a part of city limits. But if you look at city limits, there's some sawtoothing down Mission Road that's interesting. So understanding why those lines are made where they were and continue to stay that way would be another interesting thing to look at. I don't know how you differentiate whether a voter in Service District 1 has a business within City Council without including everyone, so I think it's an all or one decision, and in the end, I think it's really a Service District 1 decision if we're talking about that area of whether or not they want to be able to vote within the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Sandra, Many borough residents that live outside of the city limits have expressed frustration that they have no vote in what the city does, despite owning businesses and paying taxes in the city. Should the council reconsider who is eligible to vote in city elections? Why or why not?
Well, there's this thing called State Code Title 29 that should lead us. I didn't know that we could just say, do you want to vote? I think it has to be through annexation, and that's a guess. We can research that. I've never heard it put that way. Good job. I like the new idea. But I believe that they need to be either annexed or consolidated before they can vote. And they're frustrated that they can't vote. The price, that's not how America's supposed to work, that you can pay for your vote. But if they're annexed, they would be looking at their taxes a little bit different. If the simple one is online shopping. That's the simplest one. If you have it sent to your address in the city, you pay sales tax because the city has worked with the Alaska Municipal League and figured out how to collect that tax. If you have your packages delivered to your friend in the borough or to yourself in the borough, you don't have to pay online shopping taxes. So, going to those folks in Service District 1 to start with and saying, we'd love to have your vote. It's going to cost you. But the business aspect is really important because those people that live in the borough and have businesses in the city, it's very important to them. So my first thought is, okay, encourage your neighbors to vote for annexation. We'll see how that goes. Thanks.
Thank you. This is our final question before we move on to closing statements. We'll start back with Nick Mangini. As diversity, equity, and inclusion policies are challenged across the country, how do you plan to represent and support minorities and marginalized groups, which make up about half of the population of Kodiak?
I mean, I would imagine that the city council is going to represent this and support minorities the way that they always have, in every way possible, I guess. Just creating more opportunity for them in jobs around the city of Kodiak, making sure they have opportunity to every business and everything that resides within the city, access to our council, access to our city. I'm not sure how else to answer that, so thank you.
Thank you. Sandra, as diversity, equity, and inclusion policies are challenged across the country, how do you plan to represent and support minorities and marginalized groups, which make up about half of the population of Kodiak?
If they make up half the population, I'm not sure how minority they are. Around Kodiak, there are neighbors and our friends and there are people that I work with and so forth. Talking to them. These are our people. These are our friends. We have to listen as we have been and continue to listen and pay attention. Again, with the housing, every time something comes up, we have to consider how is the housing going to be affected. And the same thing when we consider taxation, increasing taxes, decreasing taxes, how are the marginalized and the least of these going to be affected? We have to keep it in the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Juna, same question. As diversity, equity, and inclusion policies are challenged across the country, how do you plan to represent and support minorities and marginalized groups, which make up about half of the population of Kodiak?
Kodiak has always been a diverse community. You know, it's a tagline at the Kodiak History Museum. Kodiak is a cultural crossroads. We have been, and we will continue to be. People from all different population groups are part of the foundation of who Kodiak is. As an elected official, I would continue to serve everyone and invite everyone in, call everyone in as much as possible, and hope to have as much representation from all of our cultural groups, from all of our marginalized groups. I'd love to see more people in those communities participate in local government. I'd like to create a welcoming environment to call them in. The programs that minorities and marginalized groups in Kodiak need are the same programs that everyone needs. We all need schools, we all need jobs, we all need firemen and policemen. We all need fun things to do with our friends. So I would just lean in to continuing to welcome everyone to be a part of the community, because we are all here together and we are an island in the middle of the Gulf of Alaska. You know, whatever federal policies come out around the language of how we talk about it, the root of it is the same. Kodiak is a multicultural community, and that's part of our strength. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we now turn to closing statements. So as a reminder, each of you will have 1 minute to share your final thoughts for listeners and the voters.
Flipping the rotation, we'll start with the last candidate first, which is you, Ms. West. Your closing statement, please.
Yeah, thank you. I have turned on my microphone now. It's such a privilege to live here. I mean, I'm just going to look in the audience and start crying because it's an awesome town. But I think I'm just going to encourage folks to vote. I went to the gym today, and one of the young people there that was working is not registered yet. I says, I will be back. I have an appointment with you in 2 weeks. I want you to be registered when I come back. You won't be able to vote next week, but I just want to encourage people to register and to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick Mangini, your 1 minute closing statement, please.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to, address the public through both online and on the radio. It's a great way for people that can't get out of the house or have other obligations to learn about their candidates. Through all of this, I've just learned a little bit more about how much I care about Kodiak and how much I want to be a part of the decision-making process. I think that you have some great options in front of you as candidates this year, and I can't take or say a single bad thing about any of you, and just thank you for your, contribution to this election as well. I guess I just want to be an approachable and thoughtful person on your council, and I think that I could do some great things, but probably none better than the rest of the candidates. So just get out there and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Juna, your closing statement, please.
I also want to start by thanking both KVOK, KMXT, and the Chamber for putting on this forum. It's a great opportunity for our community to learn more about us as candidates. I want to thank my fellow candidates for running, because as you both echoed, it is so wonderful to see how many options there are in this year's election, both at the city and the borough level. I'm delighted to see, and I hope that this shows us an increase in voter turnout. Please do vote. I hope that you vote for me because I love Kodiak with all my heart, and I know that I would serve it well. But if you don't vote for me, I know that you have lots of great choices before you. Kodiak is an amazing, magical place, and we live here for a reason. So let's continue to invest in this place that we all love.
Thank you. That's it for the forums for the Kodiak City Council candidates. Thanks again to the 3 out of 4 candidates for joining us this evening. Again, I'm your moderator, Neil Baselwiz.
And I'm Davis Hovey. We're going to take a break. We actually finished up early here tonight, so thank you for that. So we will return with the city mayor candidates around 7:30. So if you're listening to KMXT, stay tuned. 7:30 for the city mayor candidates. Thank you so much.
We didn't talk long enough?
I'm mortified that I'm the only one that talks.
Dude, I'll tell you what, the anxiety,
kept saying, all week was, don't dig a hole, son, don't keep digging a hole, don't just keep going. I think we, but you would
I will say the anxiety is just something.
I It's a good sign that we were all, because that just means we care.
There's no doubt about it.
It reinforces that, I'm excited for very excited.
Well, right before this, I was like, I think that some
Guys, I just
people.
want to make sure all the microphones are off, making sure no one's hearing you guys.
Oh, this one's good.
like
As long
that.
as it turns green. There you go.
All right, folks, 2 more minutes, and then we'll begin the candidate forum for the city mayor. 2 more minutes.
And yeah, when you're done.
All right, folks, good evening. Welcome back to those in the audience, those tuning in online or listening on KMXT radio. If you're just tuning in, this is the candidate forum for the Kodiak City Mayor. I'm Davis Hovey, the news director at KMXT radio.
And my name is Neil Basewas. I'm with KVOK.
And the 2 of us are tonight's moderators. We'll begin tonight's candidate forum in just a moment, but first we would like to acknowledge that this event is being put together by KMXT, KVOK, and the Kodiak Chamber of Commerce.
Tonight's questions have been crafted by KMXT's news team in collaboration with the Kodiak Chamber of Commerce and KVOK. For transparency, some of the candidates running for election this year are KMXT public radio staff. However, to maintain the fairness and impartiality and integrity of this annual forum, none of the questions have been shared with any of the candidates ahead of this forum, which has been our standard for previous years as well.
So each candidate will have up to 1 minute for opening statements. There's the opportunity to introduce yourself or say whatever you want during the opening statement. Once we begin questions, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer each question, and we will rotate who answers each question first. The forum will end with candidates' 1 minute closing statements.
We will be using the timer in the Kodiak Island Borough Assembly Chambers, and the time starts when the candidate begins speaking. If the timer goes off during a statement or answer, please wrap up your comments immediately. Starting with opening statements, we will go in alphabetical order by last time, beginning with
Mark Anderson, your 1 minute opening statement, please. And remember, yes, push the green button before you start speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to the residents in Kodiak who are listening online and on the radio. Thank you for taking part in the public process. That's important. We've heard a lot of comments. All of us candidates have heard that there hasn't been enough involvement from the public, and I hope that continues to improve. And I am a 27-year resident of Kodiak continually since 1998. Moved here almost 27 years ago. The next month, and raised three children in the public schools here, and I've invested in Kodiak. I pay a quarterly sales tax. I know and understand what many of the businesses here in town do every quarter. But my most important qualifier for being a candidate is being a grandpa, which I think is a very good thing for a person to be able to think about the future.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Terry Haynes, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. Thanks for everybody here and everybody listening at home. My name is Terry Haynes. I first came to Kodiak in 1981, and I've been a commercial fisherman most of my life, on deck, on boats. And lately, though, I've been working on the radio, and I have a little column in the newspaper. But I also managed to get in about 16 years or so on the Kodiak City Council, which has been very gratifying. It's been good work. It's been my way to give back to the community that I've come to love so much, and it has been so good to me. So I have 2 years left on my last term, which are 3-year terms here on the City Council. And when I realized that we were going to have such a tremendous turnover, I immediately was extremely glad. We've been asking for this for a long time, and the quality of candidates that have come forward for all of the different seats that are open this cycle has been amazing and so heartening to see. But I did think that because the mayor was retiring, that it might be a good role for me to fill in my last 2 years to step up and be mayor and to make sure this transitional period goes smoothly.
Thank you, sir. Mr. J. Allen Seal, your 1 minute opening statement, please.
Good evening. You're about to learn all about your city's mayoral candidates, and this will help you make your decision about your vote on October 7th. Your vote will help me in bringing together people from our diverse community, fishermen, business owners, tribal leaders, elders, and neighbors to make Kodiak stronger for future generations. Kodiak's roots are in the fishing industry, and this will always be the beating heart of our community. But let's recognize that we face challenges like aging infrastructure, a transitional economy, and unknown obstacles to create opportunities for future generations to be able to call Kodiak home. I have spent the last 16 years in Kodiak living and working alongside the people who make this island great, and I am known for being a dependable collaborator. I'm running for mayor because I trust in the hope that our best days are ahead of us if we prepare with common sense, invest locally, and lead with respect. My name is Al Seal, and I'm excited to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Jean Silva, your opening statement, please.
Good evening. Mary Jean Silva, and I live here in Kodiak for almost 6 years now. I moved here in 2019 because I accepted a job in the Coast Guard. I love exploring around the world, and I am so grateful that I came over here in Kodiak, hoping that I will leave in a year, but here I am. 5 years later, I'm still here in Kodiak, in which I now love to live, and also encourage my other children to move here in Kodiak, because I told them that it is a very safe place to raise children. Second, in where I spent 15 years in Japan, which we feel safe, and everywhere we went in lower 48, I believe this is a safer place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now we move on to the question portion of the forum. Just as a reminder for everyone, we are live on the radio, so please just be careful of what you say. Candidates may ask moderators to repeat the question if you need before giving your answers, but we will have the questions on the TV screen above. So we will begin with you, Neil. I guess you start us off. Thank you.
All right, we're going to begin with you, Terry Haynes. The first question is, what qualifies you to be the mayor of the city of Kodiak? What connections, skills, and experience would you bring to the position that would most benefit the council and the community at large?
Well, I have been on the city council for a number of years now, and during that time I've lobbied for various projects that we've had and sat in on a lot of our meetings and our business. And so I'm familiar with what we do and what's important to Kodiak. And I think that would be useful going forward as mayor because we're in a transitional period with so many new people. And I'd like to be that team Kodiak guy who helps bring everyone together. I think that's one of my strong points is I like people. And I think that now is a good time, I think, now that we are having a transition to try to build Team Kodiak and bring together, all of our various communities and entities and the borough and the city and start to be more collaborative as we go forward. And I think I'm a good person to do that.
Thank you. Al, you have 2 minutes for the same question. What qualifies you to be the mayor of the city of Kodiak? What connections, skills, and experience would you bring to the position that would most benefit the council and the community at large?
Okay, I guess what qualifies me to be the mayor of the city of Kodiak is I meet all the requirements set out in the city charter, first of all, to be the mayor of Kodiak. These positions are available to reasonable people in our republic, and so I have just as much expertise or experience being the mayor as anyone else on this stage, and meeting the basic requirements would qualify me to be the mayor. I've worked really hard to maintain the connections that I made last time I ran for mayor of Kodiak 2 years ago, and worked really hard to make new connections this time and made myself available. I am a student of leadership, and being in leadership for the last 30 years and leadership positions, I have become a student of humanity and my own humility in my outlook on leadership. I have service to shared goals, and I believe in collaboration with others to make sure that those goals become a reality, and I think that that would be a benefit to council, that I'm willing to be a good listener, a communicator, a cooperator, and collaborator with both city personnel, other city council members, and other project partners and regulatory agencies that come in contact with the city, just as I have done over the last 30 years of my careers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Jean Silva, what qualifies you to be the mayor of the city of Kodiak? What connections, skills, and experience would you bring to the position that would most benefit the council and the city at large?
Well, looking at the papers, in terms of qualification, in terms of education, I believe that I met that. However, that's not what I'm looking at in terms of a good quality of a mayor. In terms of connections, The connection that I felt in my heart is I see that there are some common grounds in the community. Connections that I am going to find in each of individuals' skills and ability to bring the Kodiak to the quality of life that we're looking for. Quality of life may be something that, we keep saying, but what does it look like? What's a quality of life look like? I think I have traveled around the world to see what the quality of life looks like. And with that experience, I think this is the place that I will be bringing that experience and implement that with the people that I will make connections with, because I believe, or I've seen, that there's a lot of talented and smart people in this island. And if we collaborate together, we can make a big impact in this community. What skills do I have? I think outside the box. There's a lot of common ideas, but have it worked before. I am willing to challenge that and say, hey, let's implement this new idea. Ideas that I know it works, I've seen it work, and as long as there's an open mind on the table, I believe that new ideas can rise up and benefits everybody in the community. And regardless what your position and what status you are in life, I believe that if we truly care about this Kodiak, we will open our mind and set goals together.
Thank you. Mr. Mark Anderson, what qualifies you to be the mayor of the city of Kodiak? What connections, skills, and experience would you bring to the position that would most benefit the council and the community at large?
Thank you. I think my past broad experience in business and in leadership is what gives me the best qualifications to be in the mayor of the city of Kodiak. The history that I've had to be in roles where hard decisions had to be made, and I've been in those leadership positions at those times when those hard decisions have been, both in banking and as I've said before, I've been involved in about a dozen nonprofits over the years. I've been on the application side of those nonprofits, wanting to secure money from various organizations so that nonprofit could succeed through the year and know what it's like when you don't get the money or when you do. And so I've had a lot of experience with that. I've had experience in philanthropy, in working with the Alaska Community Foundation through its local organization here, the Kodiak Community Foundation, in looking on the other side of those nonprofit applications, seeing how those nonprofits look to places like the city for help. So in addition, I've had to sit in the room to make negotiation with leases, with contracts, purchase of property. I have spent most of my career in Kodiak dealing with a lot of business decisions, and I've had some good success with that. So I think that qualifies me in a unique position to be the mayor. And I still recognize the mayor is not the city manager, but the mayor can guide and set the tone for the council.
Thank you. This next question will start with Alan Seal. If you were elected mayor, you would be the face and voice of the city of Kodiak. How would you advocate for the city and help ensure Kodiak is a priority at the state and federal levels?
I really do think that the mayor of Kodiak is in a unique position. We do entertain more state and national level politicians here than most municipalities in Alaska get the opportunity to do. I believe that the mayor should, as the voice and the face of Kodiak, be the best of what Kodiak has to offer. I think that if you are true to yourself and put that best foot forward, it's a good beginning to being the mayor of Kodiak and making sure that you're able to effectively advocate for the city. The mayor acts as an envoy to these people, and I've heard it said that ask, ask, ask is the way forward. We need to make sure that whoever is there is willing to fight for this community at whatever opportunity arises, to make sure that any opportunity that does come up is accessible to us. Be able to look anyone in the eye and not be intimidated by them, to make sure that Kodiak is always seen as a priority. And when you do need to compromise, always compromise with the city of Kodiak as your priority as the mayor. I think that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Back over to you, Mary Jean. If elected mayor, you would be the face and voice of the city of Kodiak. How would you advocate for the city and help ensure Kodiak is a priority at the state and federal levels?
Well, just like serving military families, and you are serving a quality program, you are the front person who will receive everybody that's coming in your town. You have to know how to advocate for what we need, what we prioritize, and what is it for? We need to justify everything that we are going to ask for, because even if we ask, if they understand what is that for, they're not going to give it to you. You have to really articulate why we need that money, how we're going to use it, who's going to benefit, how long are we going to implement whatever that project, and what was the outcome, and can you produce an outcome? If the answer is yes, they'll give you a chance. And so, therefore, Kodiak, we prioritize it because this is where we live. This is where we're going to bring up our children, our grandchildren, and the future of Kodiak. So we need to invest on our children, our people, and the skills that we have here in Kodiak. And we use those, or we utilize those skills to also voice what we need. The mayor is not the only voice. The people are the backbone of the mayor. So everybody got to know what the purpose of what we're doing. Because everybody got to know why we're doing things the way we do. And if they understand the purpose of what they're doing, everybody can speak up, not just the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Anderson, same question to you. If elected mayor, you would be the face and voice of the city of Kodiak. How would you advocate for the city and help ensure Kodiak is a priority at the state and federal levels?
Advocating for the city would be obviously extremely important, and I would take on that role pretty seriously. And I feel like the person who goes before our congressional delegation, who goes to the state legislature in Juneau, needs to be very well prepared. When I have been in those situations in the past, thinking specifically about a short meeting that we had with Dan Sullivan, he expressed, okay, is everybody behind this? And when he said everybody, he's meaning is all of Kodiak behind the particular issue that we were advocating for. I think that's very important before the ask is to collaborate with the assembly, to collaborate with the tribes and the native organizations here in Kodiak to say, yes, this is a priority for our entire community. So I would research and have the facts and have the information ready so that when asked, I would be well prepared. And that's how I can best represent Kodiak.
Thank you. Terry Haynes. If elected mayor, you would be the face and voice of the city of Kodiak. How would you advocate for the city and help ensure Kodiak is a priority at the state and federal levels?
Well, the mayor is both the ears and the voice of Kodiak. You've got to go to every single meeting and be very accessible to your constituents and be there when they're talking about their concerns and understand what the Kodiak people, what their citizens are really thinking and what they need. And then you have to be the voice, their voice too. You have to tell Kodiak's story, and you have to tell it over and over and over and over again. You have to tell it to every different person who it might matter to, and you have to tell it to the same person over and over again. I'll never forget being at Don Young's office, and of course I was talking about our fire station. And I'm giving him a great story. I'm telling him how a big tsunami is going to come into town and take out our fire station, and then where will we be? And he was eating it up, and because he realized it's something that he can use. It's a story that he can use to secure funding for us, and it's a good story when he gets that funding, gets our fire station in, and he felt really good about getting that funding for our station. Likewise, Bert Stedman here at a state level. He was very important to get our fire station funding chosen among many, many projects that wanted state funding when it was funded. And he would see Mayor Branson coming and say, "Oh," and because he knew what she was going to say. We need a new fire station, and she would tell him that story again. And that's the kind of person you have to be. You have to be willing to not only listen, but to tell Kodiak's story over and over and over again. And if you know me, you know I'm a bit of a storyteller. I kind of like that. And you have to have good relations with these people. You know, when people see me coming, they say, "Here comes Terry. He's going to have substantive issues. He's probably going to have outcomes, and he's going to be well prepared. And he'll probably make me laugh a couple of times." It's not a bad starting place when you are telling Kodiak's story. And, you know, I think in the end, it's all about personal relationships in a big way. Because you are talking to people and you're telling people a story, and it's Kodiak's story.
Thank you very much. Now on to our next question. I'm going to start off with you, Mary Jean. One of the powers of the mayor has the ability to veto ordinances and resolutions passed by the city council. How do you think vetoes should or should not be used when would you use this responsibility to override council decisions?
Oh, boy. I understand that the mayor's role is to, lead the meeting, make agendas, and make sure the meeting is ordinance. However, if there's perception in the community that the mayor is responsible for a lot of things that happens in the city, I need to make sure that I am involved in making sure that my input is heard as well in the council. That I also wanted to have that my opinion matters as a mayor, even though I can't vote on it, and that I should be able to voice what the community needs. So if I have to vote, I will vote for the benefits of the community. Whoever that needed to benefits for whatever that decision that the council needs to make. And I hope and pray that the outcome would be for the benefits, fully benefits of the community.
Thank you. Mark Anderson. One of the powers the mayor has is the ability to veto ordinances and resolutions passed by the city council. How do you think vetoes should or should not be used, and when would you use this responsibility to override council decisions?
That is a very difficult question. The only thing that comes to mind about overriding a council decision is when I could see a situation where there was a room full of people and it was not clear what the outcome from public comment was. If there was essentially 50% that was in favor and 50% for, and the council voted a certain way, I think to me, that seems an appropriate time to override or veto a decision. It would not come easily. I think that if it was a matter of public safety, that it would be the mayor's duty to move forward with maybe an unpopular decision if it meant if it was a public safety issue for the community. So, yeah, tough spot.
Thank you. Terry, One of the powers that the mayor has is the ability to veto ordinances and resolutions passed by the city council. How do you think vetoes should or should not be used, and when would you use this responsibility to override council decisions?
Well, I have to say, in my years on the council under two different mayors, I can't remember a single time when either of them used their power to veto anything. And I think that's a tribute to their work as facilitators. You know, the mayor has three main jobs in this town. One of them is to chair the meetings, so you have to be familiar with Robert's Rules of Order and know how to move a meeting along. The other is to represent and advocate for the city. And the other is to facilitate the council process. And the facilitator helps the council come to the decision that they are naturally going to come to on their own. You guide the conversation in a way that allows everyone to have input and for everyone to bounce off each other and come to the best possible decision. Even as the best facilitator, sometimes you're going to get maybe a 3-3 tie. And that's when the mayor says, well, okay, I'm going to break this tie with my vote. That's a lot different than having the council vote to pass something and then having the mayor say, well, I think you're all wrong, and so I think I'm going to veto that. To me, that's a failure of facilitation. It'd be hard for me to imagine in what circumstance the mayor would be legitimately vetoing something the council voted to do. But I imagine it would be something extraordinary, some new safety issue. I don't know, Godzilla. I can't really imagine what it would be. So I think it should be judiciously used, if at all.
Thank you. Mr. Alan Seal, one of the powers that the mayor has is the ability to veto ordinances and resolutions passed by the city council. How do you think vetoes should or should not be used, and when would you use this responsibility to override council decisions?
I also think the mayor should use the veto power extremely sparingly. I think that collaboration would always be able to come first, hopefully. I think that if the mayor did have the power to and wanted to use the veto, it may be something that comes up around a contract that the mayor would like to see reworked, or that some other priority that was not aligned with or some other surprise came up that nobody knew about before the ordinance was passed, or there was some other issue. If anyone became uneasy with the legality of something, or if there was an emergency, I think that the mayor could use the veto power in that case to make sure that the right thing was done in the long run. But overall, I think that a sparing use of this power would be appropriate for the mayor in Kodiak.
Thank you. For this next question, we'll begin with Mark Anderson. In part due to increased supply chain prices, like for groceries and housing, the cost of living is rising in Kodiak, making it harder for people and businesses to afford to stay here. If elected, what would you do to support both established and incoming residents as well as businesses?
We are living in inflationary times, and that's why it is expensive to live in Kodiak, in Indianapolis, in Jacksonville, Florida, every place in the country. That inflation is what has caused these high prices, and we can't escape that. I think what I would try to do, if possible, it would only be able to happen most likely with the cooperation of the borough, is to open up more housing. Housing constitutes about 30 to 35% of most people's individual discretionary income. And so if we can work to make housing more plentiful, in theory, that should drive costs down a little bit for people, and that would probably be the best single thing we could do for our community.
Thank you. Posing the same question to you, Mr. Haynes. In part due to the increased supply chain prices, like for groceries and housing, the cost of living is rising in Kodiak, making it harder for people and businesses to afford to stay here. If elected, what would you do to support both established and incoming residents, as well as businesses?
Boy, these are hard questions. Well, groceries and housing, those are two good things to zero in on. for housing, it's something that's being faced all across the nation, especially in communities like ours in Alaska. But we happen to be the worst. We have the least amount of supply and the highest amount of demand. And the way it was explained to us, that's kind of a good thing because it motivates builders to build, but we've still had a tough time. Another factor with housing is more and more people are living at home as they get older and staying in their own homes, and that's a great thing. But we have homes that once had an entire family in them, maybe 5 or 6 people, and then the kids move away and the parents are still living there into their older age, and you just have less density. You have less people in each house, and that creates less housing in effect. So that's a hard thing to put your finger on. I know Councilmember Davidson has talked about our need to have places where older families would be motivated to move out of the nice home that they're in with the paid off mortgage with the low interest rate and still move into some place like Emerald Heights that provides great things for them and services they might not be able to get. If we provide those kind of options, we may be able to take a little off our housing market. But basically, it comes down to Team Kodiak. You know, we can't really address housing without being in partnership with the borough, which has all the zoning powers. So between the borough and the city, we could probably come up with a pretty good housing plan. About groceries, you know, supporting these entities around our island who are having such great success in working on food viability, food access, and food security. And we have Kodiak, I believe it is, no, it's the Shunak is working on getting more food grown here in Kodiak. You know, we don't live in the desert. It's amazing that we have very little food that's grown right here. And supporting those entities that are working on that would help.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Alan Seal, back to you. In part due to increased supply chain prices like for groceries and housing, the cost of living is rising in Kodiak, making it harder for people and businesses to afford to stay here. If elected, what would you do to support both established and incoming residents as well as businesses?
Being that both established and incoming residences are employees, I think first I would look to promote a buy local culture. I would promote using local businesses personally, support the art walks, the farmers market, and shop local downtown events, and continue to cooperate with the Chamber of Commerce. Actually eat at the food trucks that we have here and suggest using local vendors for civic organization events. I would like to establish local business support programs, support and promote cooperation with the KEDC for low-interest loans or grants to new businesses, encourage the Kodiak College and the Island Research Consortium to continue locally focused training and technical programs. I would like to see us invest in infrastructure and beautification by improving sidewalks, parking, lighting, and signage downtown, along with the improvements and work at the Maritime Museum and Discover Kodiak. The KEDC Downtown Grant Program was a good start to this kind of encouragement for downtown businesses. And although new business is important, supporting and helping existing businesses expand their services or offerings is also paramount to retainment. I would like to see the city streamline permitting and licensing. The city could look at the creation of a one-stop business center that helps with zoning, permitting, licenses, and compliance and processes for all businesses operating inside city limits. And I would look at deregulation for new and existing businesses within the practical means to streamline existing processes and the creation of new businesses. And I would like to see us create targeted tax incentives or fee reductions and offer property tax abatements, reduced fees, or sales tax rebates to existing or new businesses willing to invest in beautification, revitalization, or the hiring of residents as employees.
Thank you. Mary Jean Silva, the same question. In part due to increased supply chain prices like for groceries and housing, the cost of living is rising in Kodiak, making it harder for people and businesses to afford to stay here. If elected, what would you do to support both established and incoming residents as well as businesses?
Thank you so much for that question. And I know that one of thing that I advocate is for our Kodiak residents to stay here. I know there's a lot of a lot of prices increase on groceries and housing and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I think what we need to do is go back to basic. What do we need? We need food. Can we grow food here? Do we have farmers? Do we have skilled people that can do farmers? Can we invest in greenhouses? Larger greenhouses. There's a lot of land over here. Who owns the land? Let's find out who owns the land. Maybe they'll try to spare us some space and build something. There's a lot of property owners that they already have paid off all their properties, but yet they continue to increase their rent. The amount of rent increase every year regardless of they already paid off. Maybe we should implement a policy that there's a cap on rent, based on, of course, income of the individual. But if we don't have control of how businesses are raising their prices, of course, they can raise their prices for however many, and we just accept it and says, oh, there's a lot of expensive stuff. Okay, but if we work as a community and say, hey, I own this piece of land, what do you need it for? What do you need it used for? I'd be like, hey, we need a state-of-the-art teen center. You know, we need it in our community because we need to invest in our people. We need to also encourage our elders to do volunteerism. You know, we always thinking of prices. We always thinking of how much this costs. But what about what kind of talents do you have that we don't need to talk about the price? Let's talk about what we can do in our community with less cost or no cost.
Thank you very much. Terry, you're going to start us off with this next question. Finding affordable housing in Kodiak continues to be a challenge for both established and incoming residents. What factors do you think are worsening the crisis, and what solutions would you pursue to alleviate the issue?
Well, as I said, we're not alone in having a housing crisis. We're just the worst. I think that addressing housing is going to have to take Team Kodiak all the way. We're going to have to work with the borough first thing because the borough has zoning powers. And it's going to be very difficult for us to have a housing plan without engaging the borough. And they should be naturally part of the partnership anyway. But it's going to take a team, and I think a good example is the self-help housing program that was implemented 3 years ago through the USDA, and they contacted several entities. In fact, I have a list. In addition to the city of Kodiak, the Kodiak Island Housing Authority, Rural CAP, Kodiak Incorporated, Housing Alaska, Alaska Housing Finance Corporation, the Denali Commission, the Woody Island Tribal Council, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture all teamed up on this. That's Team Kodiak right there. And Mindy Pruitt herded the whole group, and our own mayor had a lot to do with pushing the whole thing through. But in the end, we're breaking ground, we're clearing that land, and we're going to have 10 new homes there that are going to be built by the people who are going to move into them. So all the people in this first neighborhood of 10 homes are all going to build their homes. They're all going to put in at least 35 hours a week, each of them, and they're all going to build everybody's homes, and nobody moves into one house until all 10 are built. It's an amazing program, and we already have 6 people qualified. I have to say, I encourage everyone to get a hold of Mindy at the Kodiak Island Housing Authority and apply for this. If this is you, if you're a working person who has a good job, but you just can't get into housing, and you're healthy enough, and you have the ability and wherewithal to do this, apply for this self-help housing program. That's the kind of thing we need to do. If this program goes all the way forward, we'll have a neighborhood of 25 homes there. It's not going to house everybody, but it's a good start, and it's the kind of collaboration that's going to be required.
Thank you. Mr. Alan Seal, finding affordable housing in Kodiak continues to be a challenge for both established and incoming residents. What factors do you think are worsening the crisis, and what solutions would you pursue to alleviate these issues?
I'm going to consult the most recent KEDC housing report for my answer here. People who answered the survey said that a lack of buildable land and costly infrastructure are major barriers to finding housing. and public land sales often favor developers over locals. And while older areas like the Aleutian Homes need major water, sewer, and road upgrades, those houses are still not affordable. People want more land with development requirements and extending utilities and creating walkable neighborhoods with sidewalks and green space. We do have some major obstacles to those problems. High prices, often more than $400,000 for outdated homes, combined with rising interest rates and strict loan criteria, put ownership out of reach for many. Renters in Kodiak have reported paying more than half of their income on housing, which leaves them no room to save for a down payment. Loan guarantees and other down payment help and programs would give locals a path to buy and build equity. We also should look at zoning and regulatory reform and permitting. I think that a look at the parking minimums in Kodiak would be a great way to reduce roadblocks in our development. Residents would also like smaller lot sizes, modular construction approvals, and a faster and clearer permitting to enable more diverse and adaptive housing like multi-use housing. The recommendations from this for the city are going to look like we should create a dedicated local funding to support development, pre-development, and long-term affordability. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mary Jean Silva, same question posed to you. Finding affordable housing in Kodiak continues to be a challenge for both established and incoming residents. What factors do you think are worsening the crisis, and what solutions would you pursue to alleviate the issues?
Continuing my previous answer, I would pursue those people who owns land, and I want to find out what's the problem. Why can't they let go of this, selling land? Or if there's land, where is it? And then I actually started a group of us of willing to invest in Kodiak and say, hey, I know housing is impossible, and it's impossible for one person to buy a property and build it. So why not? Let's put our resource together as a small community, as a small individuals, and let's put a loan together, all our investment together, and build housing for whatever we can afford, for what we can do. Because we start small, and small can make a big impact. And if we can do that, maybe we can be like the role model for the other personnel and say, hey, that works out. I know I can't afford it by myself, but if we have a group of investors that are willing to purchase a land and build, and of course work with the zoning personnel, and maybe there's some kind of waiver to the policy which allows us to build additional housing. And before we actually bring in some other people in our island, let's look at the talents that we have here. Let's invest again in the local personnel, send them to training, allow them to see other places, other country around, and then learn from there and bring it back to Kodiak. So that, instead of bringing more people, let's invest on the people that we have over here. And whatever we can do as a citizen, let's start there. Let's build something together.
Thank you very much, Mary Jean. Mark Anderson, finding affordable housing in Kodiak continues to be a challenge for both established and incoming residents. What factors do you think are worsening the crisis, and what solutions would you pursue to alleviate the issues?
Back in 2020, when the KEDC was formed, John Whidden and Tom Panamaroff, Mike Pfeffer, and Carl Hertz and I identified housing as our primary goal in getting something done. It was a huge issue, and I'm thankful to say that we were successful not in coming up with our own project, but we brought awareness to the entities that needed to, and thankfully, Kodiak Island Housing Authority was able to take some of our input and awareness and transition that to an actual project that's now happening. I'm very excited to see that. As I mentioned before, what factors are worsening? It's inflation and the cost of building, buying a 2x4, and that's the gist of it. I mentioned a plan at the senior center the other day that if I had the crystal ball, if I had could make things happen, I would go to the borough, ask for 100 acres behind Salive Street, and put in 100 lots. And I wouldn't put in sewer. I would try to just pump our city water into that development, which would greatly lower the cost to develop, because if you don't have to deal with grade and you don't have to deal with septic, you would still have to do septic systems, but you don't have to have the separation between the water and the septic, because there'd be no wells. That has a tremendous possibility of having some housing completed in a little bit of a new form. But I would do everything I could to try and make something like that happen.
Thank you, sir. This next question, we start with Mr. Alan Seal. What would your priorities be during your 2-year term if you were elected as mayor?
Probably first, just to survive. I do have a lot to learn, and I guess my first priority would be to make sure that I would have at least some small feet to fill the big shoes that I'm going to be coming after. I think that advocating for the city of Kodiak for the harbor is going to be one of the most important jobs that the mayor has to do after we finish up the fire station. My priority would be to learn and collaborate with the new city council members to make sure that we could be effective, to learn the processes, and to make sure that I ran the meetings appropriately. It's going to be a tough and uphill climb for any of us that are going to step into these shoes, and to prioritize at least my own willingness to grow into the seat which I was elected for, I think would be very important. I also don't think that I would want to be mayor more than 3 terms. I think that's all that would be required of someone here. But during the first one, I think that it's most important to learn the job if you're elected, try to do your best, prioritize what the city needs, and listen to the people who are going to help you do that, and make sure that you can move the city forward in a manner which can bring the city respect and the position also.
Thank you very much. Mary Jean, what would your priorities be during your 2-year term if you were elected as mayor?
Well, I know 2 years will go by so quickly. It's like you close your eyes and it's done and over with. But I know in 3 months, I would get to know who I need to work for, who I need to reach out, form what our goal, get to know everybody in the community in the first 3 months. Then the 6 months is prioritize our goals. Where do we need to go and look for resources, and then put the goals in place. And then next year would be implementation of our goals. So how do we implement that? Who's in charge of it, of that project? I know council have a lot of job to do, but council is not the only one that needs to make a decision. We need to break down all these tasks so we can accomplish a lot within a year or 2. So if the harbor is priority, then let's find out where are the money that's coming from so we can fix that issue over there, and who's in charge, what's the deadline, what would be our accomplished time frame, for me, I would like to plant the seed to where all the next generation will benefit. I would advocate heavily on state-of-the-art youth programs, because I know I'm specialized in early childhood education, the school programs and community service to increase mental health support in the community. Because again, for me, investing and knowing who that I need to focus on more, which is the citizens of Kodiak. We need to bring morale, good morale in the community. And whatever that takes, we need to recognize each individual's skills, each individual's contribution. We need to listen to everyone, and united we can do it together.
Thank you. Mr. Mark Anderson, what would your priorities be during your 2-year term if you were elected as mayor?
I've told people before that one of my first priorities is to dive into our city financial statements. My priority would be to dissect our city financial statements, so I would understand that not only we have a $16 million sales tax revenue, but I want to know where that sales tax revenue is coming from, how much of it is coming from retail, how much of it is coming from big business, how much of it is coming from, we know that once that national law that Wayfair presented to the Supreme Court and we started collecting sales tax, we know that $1 million is now coming into Kodiak's city coffers because of that collecting sales tax from online, or something close to $1 million. So I would, that's my number one priority. The number two priority, I would want to become on our lobbyists' favorites on their phone, and also the congressional folks. I might not make it on their favorites, but I would want to get the council, the entire council, in front of those people, and so that when a lobbyist received a phone call from me, they would say, "Oh, we know this is Kodiak mayor calling again." So that would, we're not going to be able to. Harbor and housing are the two priorities, but we aren't going to accomplish a lot unless we can generate some outside money to get those things done. So that's where I'd focus.
Thank you very much. Terry Haynes, what would your priorities be during your 2-year term if you were elected as mayor?
Well, for capital priorities, the first 3 would be St. Herman Harbor, St. Herman Harbor, St. Herman Harbor. There's nothing more important. It looms over everything that we do. And it's not, the entire body of Kodiak, but it is our heart. It's our beating heart. And our heart needs a heart transplant. That harbor is dissolving in front of us when we have big storms. Floats blow away. And the boats over there are very well aware of that. And if St. Herman Harbor goes away, they'll go away too. And we have 700 boats in this town. That's a big fishing port, one of the biggest in the United States. Every single one of them is a business. We don't want to lose those businesses, and we will. So that's the most important priority, looming over everything. But in order to get those kind of things done, I think I would really like to foster, to the greatest deal I can, Team Kodiak. And what I mean by that is that, I've just totally hit a blank spot there. Team Kodiak is very important. We need to be more collaborative. We need to have town hall meetings about things like Gibson Cove, the disposition of Gibson Cove, and St. Herman Harbor, what's the best way to go forward with that, and housing. And by having town hall meetings, and I totally agree, with snacks and supplies, and we get people to come to these meetings, because I know it's frustrating for most people to be rather limited in your engagement with the city government and even the borough government. You get your 3 minutes during the meeting, and there's no back and forth because it's not allowed. That's not a conversation. We need to have town halls that will allow us to have real conversations about these real issues facing us, and that way we can gather consensus. And with that consensus, we can more confidently go forward knowing that we have the support of the citizenry. And to help with that, I think we need someone on city staff who's directly involved with communication, just letting the public know what we do.
Thank you very much. All right, beginning with Mary Jean Silva. As diversity, equity, and inclusion policies are challenged across the country, how do you plan on who represent and support minorities and marginalized groups, which make up about half of the population of Kodiak?
Well, I know that's an executive order that is being told to us to remove in terms of our daily living, but Kodiak is a melted pot with lots of different cultures. Cultures not as race, culture not as color, cultural as not a national origin, but we are a competent community. We are intelligent community who can find solutions to problems. So let's identify those individuals and celebrate accomplishment together. No one is left behind. That regardless of where you come from or where is your original race, you are important and essential to the development of our city. Let's embrace everybody's talents, everybody's skills. It's like a 1,000 pieces of puzzles. One is important to complete that puzzle, and each of one of us play that role. Your idea is not neglected or not listened to. Every idea is important in order to solve every issues that we're facing here in our community. So diversity of ideas is what we need to solve every problem that we're facing. So let's welcome every ideas to every solution, and together let's solve problem one at a time.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson, same question to you. As diversity, equity, and inclusion policies are challenged across the country, how do you plan to represent and support minorities and marginalized groups, which make up about half of the population of Kodiak?
The actual issue for EEO, Equal Opportunity Employment, is probably tasked to the city manager. And so our administration is going to be dealing with that on a regular basis. For the council, I think it would be important for us as a body to invite those minority groups and marginalized groups to attend and invite them to our meetings, to reach out and say, hey, we're having a work session, we'd like to hear from you. And so that would be something I would try to do, is actually reach out to those groups and invite them to come and dialogue with the council.
Thank you. Mr. Terry Haynes, as diversity, equity, and inclusion policies are challenged across the country, how do you plan to represent and support minorities and marginalized groups, which make up about half of the population of Kodiak?
Well, Kodiak is a wonderfully diverse community. It's a big part of our strength, is a rich tapestry of cultures that seem to interweave here in Kodiak and all seem to coexist so beautifully. And I think that's something that we need to preserve. And it's also something that we need to expand. I think that's part of being more robust as Team Kodiak, is we start to go to these meetings. I mean, we attend Phil-Am Association meetings. We go to meetings that are being held by native tribes, villages, and corporations, and we find out what they're working on. And we let them know what we have going. A lot of times, some of these communities are doing wonderful things. And just the question, how can the city help, might be very welcome to a lot of people. And I think asking the opposite question, if other entities, if a native corporation is doing something exciting, how can we help them and how can they help us to achieve our goals? I think it's all part of realizing that we are much stronger because we have such a diverse community, and we have to make sure that we're serving everyone in our community. But it's easier, I think, for us because Kodiak is just that way. I mean, everyone here in Kodiak seems to me to be happy and proud of our great amount of diversity. And I think we have to realize that we're all here together on one island, and we're separated by an ocean from everybody else. In a lot of ways, I think Alaskans and island dwellers are sort of the same way in that they tend to hang together so they don't hang separately. I think that's what we have to keep in mind, is that we're all minorities and we're all marginalized at some point or another. And to realize that keeping our ears on and keeping our minds open is the way to make sure that we can help each other to the greatest degree we can.
Thank you. Mr. Alan Seal, same question to you. As diversity, equity, and inclusion policies are challenged across the country, how do you plan to represent and support minorities and marginalized groups, which make up about half of the population of Kodiak?
I think as a leader in this community, one of the first things that you should probably do on this topic is seek understanding. This is the first step in learning acceptance or tolerance. Listen first and seek as much understanding as you could of your neighbors and your friends and the other people in the community which you may not be as familiar with. A strong economy helps everyone here. And these are our neighbors and friends. I live across the street from Mary Jean, and just being able to listen to those people around you would be helpful. We do have a strong amount of service industry, and a lot of that industry employs minorities in our community, and so a strong economy will help all of us be able to have a better quality of life here. Keep fishing strong. Make sure the waterfront stays intact, and help encourage entrepreneurship for new people who want to come to Kodiak that are in either of these groups. I think that the city can encourage these people by continuing its dual language printing in the newspaper and making sure that the meeting materials maybe even be presented in both languages, Tagalog and English. I think Kodiak is stronger because we are a strong, diverse community, and I think that the mayor's job would be to encourage that and to look forward to helping those people however possible with any issues that they may bring to the mayor, and be willing to listen to those people.
Thank you. That concludes the question portion, so we'll now move on to closing statements. As a reminder, each of the candidates will have 1 minute to share your final thoughts for listeners and the audience here in the room.
Flipping the rotation, we'll start with the last candidate first. Mary Jean Silva, your closing statement, please.
I would like to reach out to everyone's heart. We have issues that we've been facing, such as the housing. And it's been, in my experience in talking to people, that it's been a while that we haven't able to solve that issue, or that if we find solution, we're moving very slowly forward. I really applaud the mayor for figuring out how to at least build 10 houses or more that is built by whoever wants to live there. But understand that there's a lot of people in this community works 12, 16, 18 hours a day. And when do they have time to build that? Something that we have to consider. So if you also own a land, please, find a heart to share that in the community. So at least, something small can build on something better.
Thank you. Mr. Alan Seal, your 1 minute closing statement, please.
Thank you to everyone that tuned in and attended tonight, and the organizers of this community forum. Thank you to my supporters and my family for supporting me throughout the campaign. The waterfront, our economy, our neighborhoods, these are all facing changes that are coming whether we are ready or not. As your city mayor, I'll fight for this community and its residents at every opportunity. And I'll need guidance from you, Kodiak. on issues like our infrastructure and our harbors, quality of life, and our complex and transitional economy. I do have a lot to learn, but what I can promise you is this. I will work hard every day to make Kodiak better prepared for our future and to listen, to learn, and to act with the best information available to me. I'd be honored to have your vote to seal the deal on October the 7th.
Thank you very much. Terry Haynes, your closing statement, please.
Thank you. I was posed a question over at Emerald Heights the other day that was, why do you want to be mayor? And I said, you said that wrong. You should have said, why? Why do you want to be mayor? Because it is a bit of a thankless job. It's definitely not a career. But I think I want to be mayor for the same reason that everyone in this dais does, is that I want to give back to this community that's meant so much to me. And the reason I think that I chose to run for mayor is because we're in an exciting time when we're going to have a big turnover. We're going to have new people coming in. And I think I can be that transitional figure who can help us run the meetings, who can help us transition into a new generation of leadership. And then I'll be gone after the 2-year term. And I hope that someone else can step forward, maybe from the city council, to become mayor. Because anyone who's ever done anything knows that experience does count. And if I'm elected mayor, I can tell you that there will be no hitch in our get-along for lobbying and other functions of our government.
Thank you. And Mr. Mark Anderson, your 1-minute closing statement, please.
Thank you. I was a little disappointed we didn't get a question that the city council candidates received, which is about the consolidation. I'm just going to touch on it briefly, that the number one issue that most people have talked to me about is it's very frustrating not to have a voice in the city election and city decisions that affect them. And I just want to say that I heard that loud and clear, and I would want to do everything I could to listen to the people, to listen and to ponder and review and make wise decisions based on what the people have the input they've given. I'm ready to help lead the council, and I'm excited for the future of Kodiak. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes the forums for the Kodiak City Mayor. Thanks again to all of our candidates for joining us this evening.
And thank you to our audience, those listening on KMXT, on YouTube, over on the Kodiak Island Borough website, as well as the event sponsors, the Kodiak Chamber of Commerce, KVOK, and KMXT.
Early voting is open now in person by stopping in the Borough Assembly Chambers Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Election day is on October 7th at your regular polling places.
Thank you again for tuning in. Have a good night.
And I'm Neil Basis, and you have a good night. Remember to vote this municipal election.